Don't miss the savings during Lowe's Just for Pros event. Stop by the Pro Desk and get an extra 5% off volume savings orders over $1,500. Plus, look for more savings across the store, including tools, paint, lighting, and other pro essentials to help you get the job done right. Shop today at Lowe's, the new home for pros. Discount on eligible product only and reflected in quote. Terms and exclusions apply. See Pro Desk in store for details. Now through July 30th. U.S. only.
This is Mission Control. The tallest, fastest, and longest steel coaster in Kings Island needs you. Must be able to handle a 300-foot drop and speeds up to 91 miles per hour while dodging meteors. No training required. Are you up for the challenge?
Introducing Orion at Kings Island, one of only 7 giga-coasters in the world.
Right now, everyone pays kids' price. Kings Island tickets, just $45 online.
Welcome to the Boneyard with Steve Robertson. As always, I am your good friend and host, Steve Robertson, here on the Hump Day edition of the Yard. I meant to record last night. I was just too tired to do it. I'll be honest with you. So here we are. So Mike Leach will speak later today at SEC Media Days. I know people get excited about Media Days. It's not the thrill for me, I guess, that it is for some other people. You know, I haven't been in a couple years because so much of it's done virtually now, and you can get just about everything on the SEC network. That said, there is about a 10-minute segment that Leach will do with local reporters that will not be televised. And Robbie Falk and Mike Nemeth are covering for us, so they're there. They'll have that information over on genespage.com shortly after that session concludes. I'm eager to see what Leach does today, though, to be honest. His first time before the SEC media at the Media Day event. And you know as well as I do, there will be some people that will have some loaded questions, you know, hoping to get some viral comment, to get clicks and that sort of stuff. So just be mindful of that. I don't think that Leach is going to talk a lot about vaccinations. I don't think he'll talk a lot about name, image, and likeness, even though he will be asked about both of those topics. So I just don't think that's really what he wants to talk about. We'll kind of see how things progress. But, the bottom line is, as I've shared on Monday's show, there is just so much to discuss about name, image, and likeness because we're all just sort of figuring this thing out. Nick Saban said yesterday that Bryce Young is already basically a millionaire, and that is shocking to me in many respects. I think there has to be some regulation in all this, and you can say, well, it's a free market enterprise, and it is, but there has to be some type of regulation because how do you prevent that from becoming part of the recruiting pitch? It's say, hey, you come here, we've already got $1 million in endorsements lined up for you. Now, the quarterback at Alabama is always going to be a very marketable personality, but this is a young man that hasn't started a game. And so we're beginning to see this is really kind of a Pandora's box in many respects. But at the end of the day, the NCAA dragged their feet. The NCAA did not take meaningful action, and now they're paying for it. And they have really, really, really put a difficult situation into reality now because there's going to be a lot of programs out there that simply are not going to be able to compete. And in some respects, we're going to be one of them, especially in football. Mississippi is one of the most sparsely populated states in the union. We don't have a lot of industry compared to some other states. And so the marketing opportunities are not going to be there as they would be at some other places. And so, the rich get richer in many respects. And some would argue, well, those players are already getting paid. Well, let's not be ridiculous about that too. Now that you can do it, without the cloak and dagger, it doesn't all have to be just some clandestine, drop off somewhere. There are going to be a lot of people. They're going to take advantage of this. The thing that I've always said is, once you get them on campus, it's unregulated in many respects. It should be. There's always, an emphasis on impermissible benefits for players when they are recruits. And then they become student athletes, and you and I both know that there's a lot of things that go on that, maybe are under the NCAA radar. Well, now you've got this. And you could have some really lucrative opportunities for amateur student athletes that weren't available before. And I just don't know what that means long-term for Mississippi State. And so maybe perhaps if you're in industry, maybe if you're a person that's in business, maybe you get involved with this and you can do things that, that are legally, to help Mississippi State, secure better student athletes. But you can't do it through the recruiting process. And so that's just something that is still kind of being, kind of unfolding before our eyes here. It's really shameful in some respects, because I think that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to, do what they can to kind of circumvent the system as best they can. But, the rules only apply to the law-abiding. Cheaters, you can make all the rules you want. For them, they're still going to cheat, so it makes them cheaters. But there are a lot of things now that would have been an NCAA violation before that can now be done legally. It's incredible to think about. It's incredible to think about. I mean, it really is. It's absolutely incredible to think about. So that will dominate the discussion in the weeks and months ahead. I don't know how you regulate it. It's one of those things like, once the toothpaste is out of the tube, how do you get it back in? You just can't. And again, some inaction on behalf of the NCAA is really brought this thing to the forefront of the college athletics discussion. The thing that I go back to in many respects is, what does this mean for female student athletes? What does it mean? I mean, obviously there's some people that have cheated in women's basketball and track. We're well aware of that. And much of that was academic impropriety. But where are the marketing opportunities going to be for female student athletes? When you hear that a guy that's never started a game has already got $1 million worth of name, image, and likeness marketing opportunities already in place, and you think about our partial scholarship softball players, many of which have worked just as hard as football players, they just happen to excel in a different sport, do you think that collectively they're going to come up with $1 million of marketing opportunities? The answer to that question is probably no. And so the NCAA is probably looking at years of litigation and years of legislation to sort this mess out. Because right now it really is the Wild Wild West. Because all those people before that maybe perhaps were, filling, red Nike backpacks and things like that, now all of a sudden, hey, here's the deal. We want to have this guy come speak at an alumni function or a private party, and we're willing to pay, $10,000. For him to do that. There's an appearance fee involved here, and we're willing to pay that. Who determines what's fair market value? And in a capitalist society, as you guys know, it's like, prices go up based on demand. And so let's say maybe you had a guy like Dak Prescott. Well, Dak could do, speaking appearances all the time. And the requests would be just absolutely endless. And so to kind of weed that out and to make it worth his while, you would say, okay, well, we're going to charge $10,000 for an appearance. Well, his time is somewhat limited. We only have 24 hours in a day. So he's going to want to make as much money as he can with each opportunity. And so those are the things that I think about. Is there a cap on some of this? Is there anybody out there that's saying, okay, this is what's reasonable for this? And how do you make that fair? I mean, honestly, let's be honest. If he had a speaking engagement, and let's say, Boonville, Mississippi, don't you think that's going to kind of pale in comparison financially compared to, let's say, one in Memphis or Jackson or Baton Rouge? And so those are the things you look at. This is how you look at things. Is what does the NCAA need to do to ensure that this is not a situation that completely runs off the rails? I'm concerned about it. I think you should be as well. I do believe in many respects it helps us in baseball. And it's because of the fact that baseball, we are a baseball school. And the guys like Jag Mangum and Justin Foscue and Rowdy Jordan, Tanner Allen, those guys are extremely marketable. They have a great brand. And many of them also are on partial scholarships. So there's also a financial requirement to them playing college athletics. And so I think in some respects that's good for us because, let's be honest, a baseball player at Auburn is just not going to carry the same weight in the state of Alabama as a Mississippi State baseball player would in the state of Mississippi. That's just the reality of life. When you begin to break it down even more, I mean, what do you do, if a guy that's at Mississippi Valley? What do you do if a guy is at Mississippi College? What do you do, for student athletes at, say, Jacksonville State? Those guys aren't going to be nearly as marketable. And so I am a firm believer in letting guys make some money, make female and male athletes have the opportunity to make some money on their brand. And again, I think people don't fully appreciate, you can't get out there on a TV commercial and say, so-and-so is a Mississippi State guy. It's just going to be their own name. Hey, this is Dak Prescott. It can't be, hey, this is Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Mississippi State Bulldogs. You can't trade on the university's name. And so I think a lot of people maybe don't fully appreciate that. And so there are going to be some players out there that just don't have a marketable brand, so they're not going to make any money. And that, of course, as always, could lend to some controversy in a locker room. There could be some jealousy. It could be some pettiness. So there's a lot to navigate. I don't have the answers today. I got a lot of concerns, but I got a lot of answers. I don't have a lot of answers, to be honest with you. I think this is something that is going to evolve a lot over the course of the next couple of years. The simplest thing to do was to have everybody sign the name, image, and likeness agreement and then share in the resources. Now, that said, why should a guy like Dak Prescott or Jake Mangum, be capped, when they're the more marketable commodity? And so what you're telling me is that by doing it that way, Jake Mangum would make the same amount as your bullpen catcher. Is that fair to Jake? No, it's not. And so there's really no way to make this fair and at the same time, be a situation where everybody's treated fairly. Life's not fair either. It's not. But when you're young and impressionable, maybe you don't fully appreciate that. So, again, that'll dominate much of the conversation the next couple of days at SEC Media Days. We'll get into some Media Day stuff a little bit later in the show. I want to thank our good friends at Bulldog Burger Company, longtime sponsors of this show. I love that place. You will too. The best thing about it is when I decide, hey, we're going to Bulldog Burger Company, kids, I know that everybody is going to have a good meal. I know that everybody is going to get what they want. I know there's something on the menu for everybody. Nobody is going to be upset about going to Bulldog Burger Company. In fact, people love it. I know when my college girls, I'll reach out and say, hey, you guys meet me at Bulldog Burger Company at 7. Once we navigate a time, because, that's the thing about college girls is they've always got a million things going on. They go and we have a great time together. We have a great meal. We get great food at a great price. And the portions are so substantial. There's always food to take home. Absolutely love going there. 3 locations to serve you. University Drive here in Start Vegas. Gloucester Street there in Tupelo. That is a really nice-looking building, too. And then the new one, Lake Harbor Drive there in Ridgeland. Go by, check it out. Have the spring rolls. The Pimentology Add Bacon is the Boneyard burger of choice. If you haven't done that, let me encourage you to do so. It'll make you feel a whole lot better about life. Bulldog Burger Company, the place where people go to meet. M-E-A-T. All right, broke some news a little bit earlier today. I say break news. He announced on his social media account, that's RJ Yeager, shortstop from Mercer University, will be transferring to Mississippi State for his final year of college eligibility. Had a chance to speak with RJ earlier. He said Mississippi State was involved with him shortly after he entered the portal. This is a guy that is very, very important. I was kind of curious why he didn't get drafted. A lot of people say, he's 6'3", 200 pounds. He has an MLB-type body. This is a guy, too, that has played a ton of shortstop. Let's run some numbers here, too. There are not a lot of players out there that have the same experience that RJ does. This guy has played a ton of college baseball. Let me get his numbers pulled up here. It's one of those things, too. I got a million tabs open, so it takes me a minute sometimes to find it. But one of the things that jumped out to me, this is a remarkable stat. This guy, in 4 years of college baseball, 4 years, has grounded into 4 double plays. 3 of those came in his freshman year. So his last 3 seasons, he has grounded into 1 double play. That may seem like a small thing. I think it's actually a very big thing. What it tells me is that this is a guy that can place the baseball. This is a guy that's a bit of a place hitter. This is a guy that understands the importance of waiting for his pitch and not hitting the pitcher's pitch and rolling one out there in the middle infield and getting doubled up. That's great. So he is a career .291 hitter, had his best year at the plate, I guess this year. Look at these numbers incorrect earlier. He had 308 as a senior. 57 games played, 234 at bats, 72 hits. That's the second. His freshman year, he had 73, which is remarkable. 17 doubles, 13 home runs, 50 RBIs. So pretty much career highs in just about every aspect this year. This is a guy that is very, very skilled. 7 errors on the year and 145 attempts. That's got to get a little bit better. It's a little bit better than we've had at times too. He had 10 stolen bases this year, 10 sacrifice hits. 5 of those were sacrifice flies. It's a guy who can bunt a little bit. And so, I'm incorrect. It was the 3 double plays. Mercer has these numbers flipped. 3 double plays this year, but still four double plays in his entire college career. That's pretty remarkable to think about. He has started every game of his college career at shortstop. So I asked him, what does that mean? What if Mississippi State told you about their needs? And so they just told him. They said, hey, listen, we got a couple of guys on the infield that are pretty versatile, as you guys know. Cam's played some at short, played some at third. Forsythe is a guy that can play short or play second. And so basically you're just adding another guy to that mix. And then you've got an availability at second, with Scotty moving on. And so basically, I could see a situation where he plays any of the 3 spots. He can play third, he can play short, he can play second. Maybe you move Forsythe to second. Maybe you plug in Yeager at short. We'll see how things progress. But this is a great thing. It gives you options. Kendall Rogers is one of those guys too. Once he went into the portal, Kendall said, this is a guy that's going to help immediately. We began to think about power numbers. We had 5 guys hit double-digit home runs, so now you add another one in. You add another double-digit home run guy, 13 dingers, 13. And we play in an offensive park nowadays too. So this is a guy that's going to come in here, I think, and really provide some pop in the order, but also too can help you out defensively. He is a guy that obviously wants to get to Omaha. He said he saw what Scotty DeBrule did. Took advantage of his extra year of eligibility. Said he wants to be that same kind of guy. Guys, we're going to be a good baseball team next year. I don't think people fully appreciate that. I know there's some people out there that, they're going to just fall off, because TA and Rowdy are gone. And I absolutely do not believe that. And nor should you. We are not a senior-laden team or even a junior-laden team at the end of a talent cycle. It's just not how it's going to work. Dare I say it, we might actually be better next year. You can say, well, Steve, come on now. We lost to a Bednar. And we did. We did. But down the stretch, we really only had one dominant starting pitcher. Just one. And we won a national championship. Christian McLeod had some big moments for us, did not have a good postseason. He didn't. Eric Sarantola expected to be a high draft pick, and he ended up going pretty high, all things considered. Pitched very little at all after his outing at LSU. So, starting pitching could actually be better next year. I would not rule out Landon Sims making a move to the weekend rotation. I think he wants to do that. I know people say, well, Steve, no, he's a closer. You need to do your own research, guys. Beginning of the year, he was a middle reliever. Maybe you've forgotten. He was a middle reliever going 3 and 4 innings a ball game. He didn't become the closer until later. And he was dominant, don't get me wrong. Where does he fit? I don't know. But I know that he is capable when you've got a guy that kind of ability. He needs to pitch as many innings as he can. And so if that means he's a Friday night guy, then so be it. But I think there's a good chance he pitches on the weekend. Cade Smith, that guy's a dog. Excited about him. I think he'll factor on the weekend. What does Jackson Fristow bring? I don't know. He kind of hit the wall mentally last year. He's got to grow up a little bit. I'm not speaking negatively about the young man. I'm just saying that he's got to mature a little bit. I mean, he was kind of thrown to the wolves this year too. Remember, we wasn't expected to pitch much this year, and he ended up starting the year as a starter out in Arlington. You find that all of a sudden you got to go throw in that ball game. And actually did pretty well. Became a guy that we could kind of count on Sundays, even though he couldn't finish, he was a decent enough opener sometimes that we would still win a ball game. So, it's just one of those things you look at. We've got some options, and of course, Aaron Walling coming in. Where does he factor in? I know he wants to be a starter. Is he a starter? Is he a closer? Is he a reliever? I think that guy gives you some options. Houston Harding was leaning towards coming back, and I understand the Angels came in and made a nice deal and offered a pretty good career path for him. And so now, he's expected to sign this deal if he hadn't already signed it with the Angels. And, yeah, that's a loss. There's no doubt about it, because at the very least, you like him coming back as a left-handed guy that could match up by the bullpen or be your Sunday starter. But we got some dudes coming in, guys. I mean, that's the thing is, at Mississippi State, it's not like, well, we got to just make do with what we got. We got 18 new Mississippi State baseball players coming in. 18. Signed 21. 3 of them signed to go play pro baseball. We got 18 more coming in. We don't even have 18 spots. Excuse me, now we got 19. 19. Goodness, is it really 20? Now that I think about it, I don't know that we announced Jess Davis as a signee yet either. So you got Jess Davis coming in, a Golden Glove winner in center field. And then you've got an absolute power source coming in to help you in the middle infield there, and Yeager. And, yeah, there'll be an adjustment, seeing SEC pitching, don't get me wrong. You also got one of the best coaching staffs in all college baseball doing the development. And so I think those guys are going to be dudes. I mean, I really do. I think the main thing you miss with these new guys coming in is, they don't have Omaha experience, but thankfully everybody else on your roster does. It's not like it was this year. Where basically all, you had Hatcher and you had TA and Rowdy that had played in Omaha. And I don't know that Josh had any at-bats in Omaha until this year. Maybe he did in 18. But, my point being is that, this year we had a lot of young talent. We didn't have a lot of postseason experience. Well, now everybody that's coming back has got postseason experience. And, yeah, you've got a new class coming in, but you've also got some guys coming in that can kind of plug and play. And dare I say it, we might be better next year. Does that mean we're going to win a national championship? It absolutely does not. I think Arkansas would probably argue that they were the best team in the country this year. And they were during the regular season, but there's a reason we have a tournament. And that's to go crown a national champion. And they were put out of that tournament. And so, yeah, during the regular season, I don't think there's any question Arkansas was the best team. That's why they were the number 1 seed, and rightfully so. But we could be a better team next year and not win it. Now, it's going to be difficult to replace the clutch gene that you have with TA, and in some respects Rowdy. But TA was always that guy. It seemed like late in ball games, the lineup just seemed to find him. Whether it be walking off Tulane or, walking off Ole Miss or the big home run against Virginia. That's what's difficult to replace. The intangibles. And again, I don't think any of us really appreciated how difficult it was to win the College World Series. But we're certainly a team that's capable of getting back to Omaha next year. Most people are projecting that, and we certainly should be. But it's a thing you look at, too. It's like we're not a great team. We're a great program. There are a lot of programs that have, senior-laden, talented teams that make a great run, and then they go back down the chute and have to kind of start over. We're a great program. We routinely recruit at a high level. This is Mississippi State. You got the crown jewel of college baseball sitting out there, that cathedral we call Duty Noble Field. As I discussed it with RJ Yeager, he says everybody in college baseball knows the Duty Noble Field is just a different animal. And he goes, and the first time I saw it, I fell in love with it. That makes a difference. You got a lot of people out here that are out there, contemplating a college baseball future. And when you have better facilities and player amenities than everybody else, all things aren't equal. Opportunities may be equal as far as playing time, but the quality of the player experience at Mississippi State, in many respects, is unsurpassed. A lot of people out there, and I love the Arkansas Twitter people, and listen, I get it, they're all passionate about their fans, their program, and their fan base and their experience, and they should be. It is difficult to go play at Baum Stadium because of those fans. And people say, Baum's a great stadium. It's really not. It's a great game day atmosphere, but it's not a great stadium. Now, they're fixing to renovate it, and maybe it'll be a great stadium then. But it's not a great stadium. Founders Park at South Carolina, it's a great stadium. Atmosphere, not so much this year. It's a great stadium and a great facility. Ole Miss, really good stadium. I'd venture to say great. Also a great atmosphere. LSU, an incredible atmosphere, not a great stadium anymore. And so when you begin to think about the people we're recruiting against and the facility advantage that we have, the ability to procure talented baseball players capable of winning an NCAA baseball championship is very much sustainable because of the commitment that your university has made to baseball. It's not just about the ghost through Noble Field. It's not just about the mystique of the left field lounge. We had that for decades and couldn't win it. That's one of the things that I go back to. There were so many people that were so totally against us renovating Duty Noble Field. I love left field lounge to this day. I love everything we do. I love the social aspect of Mississippi State baseball. But we needed to mature as a program and really take facilities to a level that had been unsurpassed in all college baseball. We've done that. And now we have a national championship to show for it. For many, many years, we had the coolest stadium in all college baseball. We let it get run down a little bit. We did. Well, we've remedied that. And for years, we considered ourselves a national power. Then everybody would say, how many titles you got? No, we ain't got one. So that kind of stuck in the crawl. It doesn't anymore. Now we're the reigning national champs, and we got about 1 million T-shirts to prove it, right? So we'll walk around and we'll feel good about that. But again, I think really, in many respects, this is, basically evidence that we made the right decision to renovate the stadium. We made the right decision to make the financial commitment we have done to baseball. We've got a championship to show for it. I've never had one in a major team sport, as you guys are well aware. Well, now we have one. So it's kind of hard to argue against those decisions. And they were difficult decisions to make at the time. But now with the gift of hindsight, we can say, you know what? We made the right call. We absolutely did. And now you look at the way that we're recruiting, the level at which we're recruiting, and the caliber of players that we are able to sign each and every year. So, it was the right decision. You say, well, Steve, we were getting great players back then. You're right, we were. But you know what? When you look at these recruiting classes today and the fact that they are so much more competitive and the recruiting atmosphere has changed so much, we are routinely getting the best players out of other states and not just our border states or not just in Mississippi. We pick up the Kozar kid, and listen, I know the first thing we do, the Kozar kid from North Carolina commits, and, he'll go pro. You don't know that. None of us know that. But I do know this. I know that he is considered the best arm in the state of North Carolina in his class, and he chose Mississippi State. He didn't choose Duke. He didn't choose NC State. Didn't choose North Carolina, Wake Forest. He chose Mississippi State. Jackson Fristow, considered one of the top pitchers in the state of Kentucky, decommitted from the University of Kentucky to come to Mississippi State. Rowdy Jordan grew up an Auburn fan, lived in Auburn, Alabama, and he came to Mississippi State. So you start running it back and you start looking at these things. Listen, we built the program in many respects on the great players in the state of Mississippi and our border states. A lot of it out there in West Tennessee, over in the state of Alabama. We go get those guys too. It's a different day and time. And I give Ron Polk a lot of credit for that. Ron made Mississippi State a national brand, not just in TV exposure, but in recruiting. Ron didn't have a wife and kids at home, so he would just stay on the road as much as the NCAA would allow him. Work his network of coaches and get names of players. If I've discussed here before, it's just like Castoriga's from New York. Mike Kelly was from Chicago. You look at what we've done over the years down in the state of Florida. You go out and get Rafael Palmeiro from Miami. And Miami had won the national championship the year before. And we went to Miami and got the best guy down there. And why? Because he could play here. Ron Frazier was talking about redshirting and Polk. He says, you know what, I'll give you a chance to play. You come up here and you earn it, you'll play. What does he do in his first at bat? Hits a home run. That's what he does. And so, in many respects, we've kind of gotten back to that where we have this national exposure because of the stadium and now because of the championship and because of the fan support. we've always been able to kind of puff our chest up a little bit when it comes to baseball, but never quite like this. And I think it's something to get excited about. I think all of you should be overjoyed about the direction of this program. And the fact that we can go out there and get somebody else as starting shortstop that's willing to come here and play second if that's what it requires, because he wants to be a part of our baseball program and a chance to go to Omaha and compete for a national championship. It's pretty impressive. Wasn't always like that. A lot of times we'd go get a guy that, perhaps was, just a guy looking for more playing time. And we'd go defend that. Say, well, he got behind this guy. And, the best guys play. And we don't, at Mississippi State, we don't have to take anybody's second teamer when it comes to baseball. We just don't. And so you've got a guy that goes in the portal that's got, a ton of Division I starts at shortstop. 197 games. A guy that has handled the baseball 521 times in his college career is not headed to Mississippi State. This is a guy that's an MLB draft guy. Decided, I'm going to leave Mercer, a place where I've developed a lot of great friends and had a great career, but I want a chance to go to Omaha. I want a chance to boost my professional stock, but also to have an incredible college experience with this free year I've been gifted by the NCAA due to the COVID situation. So he's coming here. And I apologize for the taunts. All these people that send me this stuff. Facebook sometimes has demanded my existence. But I just say these things. I think it's important for us to fully appreciate where we are and where we are headed as a program. Winning the national championship was not the destination. It was part of the journey. And now it's time for us to kind of go show who and what we are now that we're over the hump. I've said for years and years and years, getting the first one, I think, opens the door for us to kind of go on a run here. I'm not saying we're fixing to stack up a bunch of trophies. It'd be great if we did. But I think now that we've done it, we've got that monkey off our back. I think now we have an opportunity to really go out there and compete regularly for this thing. So don't sit around moping and being the self-loathing Mississippi State fan is like, well, we've only had one in my whole lifetime. It's good enough. It's a new day and time. I had a discussion yesterday with another friend in the media. That's one of the things we talked about. It's like we talk about all the people we wish to have lived to have seen this. I remember, a time in my lifetime in Mississippi State history, we just wanted to kind of keep it close. We didn't always expect to win. We just didn't want to get embarrassed. And then in hindsight, I'd say that's embarrassing. There's a new generation of Mississippi State folks who just simply expect more. They're getting more. That's not to suggest that previous generations didn't want to win. They absolutely did. We just didn't always have the resources we have today. We didn't have the leadership we have today. We didn't have the fan support we have today. And so it's been this perfect storm, and I think what we're really seeing is Mississippi State athletics has really begun to mature in this generation. You saw what we did with the Dan Mullen era. Now you're seeing what we're doing in baseball. And as great as the 80s were, we left a lot of money on the table. You guys know this. As great as the 90s were, we left a lot of money on the table. 2000s weren't so good. They just weren't. One of those decades for us that we kind of recognized we needed to make some changes. We've made them. Now we're benefiting from them. All right, today's Top 10 list brought to you by JohnnyPacker.com. You can go to JohnnyPacker.com right here today, order your sunglasses, and have them very, very quickly. The turnaround is very, very quick. Even if you go there and you say, hey, Steve, the frames that I want are sold out, doesn't matter. Send them an email, tell them you want those frames and get them on order for you, because what's happened is the demand that you guys have put together has been incredible. And so, they'll get some glasses in and hey, we got to replenish the supply. And as soon as they get it in, they're sold. And so they'll just add you to that badge. Visit them today, JohnnyPacker.com. All those sunglasses are named with frames from Mississippi towns. Really cool thing, right? Really a cool thing. Got some Omaha frames coming up, too. That's not a Mississippi town, but it's one that we love, right? A portion of each purchase, the proceeds of each purchase, donated directly to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. Of course, John Packer himself has suffered with that affliction his entire life. Now he's trying to make other people's lives better. It's pretty cool. You can buy some great sunglasses at a great price, and a portion of those proceeds go towards a great cause. And also, I'm a firm believer in doing business with Bulldogs. They want to do business with you too, which is why they've given me a promo code, which is Boneyard. It allows you Bulldog fans to save 10% off your purchase. So a great thing. Great glasses. You get it. You get the Ken Folks discount, and then part of your money goes to aid in the suffering of other people that are fighting to live. It's a cool thing. Again, that's JohnnyPacker.com. Promo code Boneyard. Today's sponsored top 10 list. So I said we were going to do Wednesday country. We're going to do crunching on Friday because I've been on a Lillian Axe kick since seeing the show. I wrote a big Facebook post out yesterday. Guys, Stevie Blaze has been one of those people that I have really admired for many years. Stevie Blaze, of course, the lead guitar player and the leader of Lillian Axe. Met him for the first time when I was just a teenager, living in Canton, Mississippi. Living that summer in Canton, and happened to be at North Park Mall, and I run into Stevie Blaze and visit with him. He invites me to a show. Turns out to be my birthday. He put me on the guest list, and he came through. I went. It was a great time, and I felt kind of accepted, I guess, by those guys. And seen him several times, and traded some messages with Stevie over the years. And as I've shared on Facebook too, it's like when Stevie made it, it was kind of like we made it too. Because he was one of us. Kind of how it felt. And he's still out there doing it at a high level, man. Saw him Sunday at Howlin' Mouse. And listen, Howlin' Mouse, such a great venue, man. They're bringing some great shows to town, too. I was going to try to get there on Thursday for the John Corabi show because I've never seen John sing. I saw him when he was the rhythm guitar player for Rat when he took Robin Crosby's spot in the band. And then I've been a Corabi fan since he was with the Scream, but I'm not going to be able to make it. I've actually got dinner plans on Thursday. I wanted to get back down there and see that, but they've got, Adelita's Way is coming up. Tommy Vex, the former singer of Bad Wolves, is going to be there. Steel Panther is going to be there. They've got some cool shows coming to Howlin' Mouse, and that is a great venue. If you've never been, you don't know what you're missing. A lot of people say, well, Steve, they don't do live music in Jackson anymore. Well, you're wrong. There's great live music at Howlin' Mouse, and that's an unsolicited endorsement there. I plan to be down there a lot here in the coming months. They got a cool show. I'm coming. So had a chance to visit with Stevie on Sunday. Clay Edwards and I interviewed him for the show, for Clay's show. And such a down-to-earth guy, man. So grateful and appreciative for the friends that have followed Lillian all these many years. So here is the top 10 Lillian Axe songs for me. And that's the thing, too, is because some of these are deeper cuts. So you might not be as familiar. And that's the thing about this fan base for Lillian Axe is that there are some people that really, really think that the later albums are the better albums. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not as well versed in them as I am the earlier ones because, I stay so busy and I need to just kind of commit myself to listening to those albums in rotation for a while. But many of these come from the first 4 albums, which is a great time. It's a great time. So I didn't have No Matter What. That is a Badfinger cover. That's off Poetic Justice, which is really, really cool. And there are a few others that I really struggle with. But this is my top 10. So I'm going to give it to you. Top 10 Lillian Axe songs. And Lillian Axe is nobody, really. He for some reason, when he changed the name of the band from Oz, he said they saw Creep Show, and there was some scene in there that kind of got to him, this woman with an axe or whatever, and the next thing you know, an old lady with an axe became Lillian Axe. I think it works well. So number 10, the lead track on the third album, Poetic Justice, is a track called Innocence. Listen, this has got everything you came for, right? It's got, squeaking guitars or screeching guitars, pardon me if I can get it out. Great lyrics, good rhythm. It's very, very, in many respects, kind of typical of the genre at the time. I love that track, though. And then actually the Poetic Justice is kind of like a keyboard instrumental that leads into it. It's probably the way to do it. Number 9, going back to the first one, a self-titled album with MCA, is Hard Luck. They still play this live. It still absolutely slaps. I love it. Number 8, a great ballad, The Day I Met You. This is kind of like, this is a love song in many respects, and vocals on it are really good too. And Lillian's had 4 lead singers, but Really a great job on this track, and lyrically, it's phenomenal. It's making somebody feel special. It's like if I was only given one day in my life to live over again, it'd be the day that I met you, which I think is a beautiful sentiment. Number 7, the first real power ballad for them, and it's not a love song in that respect. Like a lot of them, that was kind of how things worked in the genre for a while. It's okay, let's put out kind of like a decent rock song, and we'll come back with a power ballad, and then we'll come back out with a better rock song. That was kind of the pattern. But Nobody Knows is a great song that is just a little slower tempo, and it's about basically, it's about, like the chorus says, nobody knows when you're down and out. It's like when you're dealing with all this stuff by yourself, it's easy to feel isolated and alone in the world, and the song is basically telling you that you're not. You're not. We all deal with this. Number 6, this one goes back a few years too. It's Dream of a Lifetime. I believe that's the first Lillian song I ever heard on the radio. I believe that's the correct order that things went. I absolutely dig the track. I think you guys will as well. I'll be honest with you. Every song on his first couple albums, I can't criticize them at all. I absolutely loved everything that they did on those first couple albums. To me, it just made absolutely no sense that they didn't have greater commercial success. It's just one of those deals where, there were so many bands out there. I didn't think that Lillian was a flash in the pan. I thought they had some staying power, and they're still playing, obviously, 30-something years later. But I just don't know that the record company supported them the way that they should have. There were so many other people out there that don't have near the talent that Ron Taylor and Stevie Blaze and John Stern, those guys had, but certainly sold more records, and a lot of it had to do with MTV. Number 5, and Stevie says this is probably the quintessential Lillian Axe song. I really like it a lot, and it's off the Love and War album. It's the second album. I don't like it as much as some other people do. I love the song, but there are some other ones that I love more. But it's Ghosts of Winter. And I know a lot of people listen when they play this live. The singer doesn't even have to plug in because the crowd is singing it. And I love the extended version they do live. It is tremendous. But again, that's off Love and War. And in many respects, I might say that's my favorite Lillian album. I love the first two the most. Poetic Justice is really good too. But I would say Love and War is probably my favorite one. Number 4, this one's actually off Poetic Justice. And it's True Believer. And it's one of those, it's a very radio-friendly song in many respects. And I love the vocal on it. I think you guys will as well. If you may have seen this on MTV. It got heavy rotation on MTV. All right, so number 3, going back again, and let me back up a second here too. The song "The Day I Met You" is actually, let me look here for a second. Yeah, it's on the 4th album, Psycho Schizophrenia. That's the 4th album. So Ron Taylor had already moved on by then. Okay, so let's get back to number 4 being True Believer off Poetic Justice. Number 3, this again goes back. This is on the Love and War album, and this was all over MTV for a while. But it's Show a Little Love, and it's got the big 80s chorus. It's got the great guitar solo on it. I love the tone of the guitar on this track. I think it's one of those tracks, too, that everybody has probably heard and maybe didn't know who sang it. It was Lillian Axe. Number 2, and I don't know that this song got the airplay that it probably deserved, but it is the lead track on album 2, Love and War. It has this incredible keyboard intro, and there's speaking parts and everything as the bass drums and all kind of come in, and there was a lot of that too. Like as we got towards the end of the 80s, like the intro was like a big part of it, like setting up the song. Like, so you had like the radio edit, and then you had the album version. And so the radio version of this one was a little bit different, but I think it plays better in its entirety. But it's All's Fair in Love and War. And I think this might be Ron Taylor's vocal masterpiece, to be quite honest with you. I think that his work on this track is incredible. But number 1 for me, and I suspect it always will be, I said in my Facebook post that the end of this song on the cassette tape that I had, because I've had this on cassette and then and CD and now digital and everything else. But the last couple of bars, the tape thinned out because as soon as the song was over, I'd hit rewind. That sounds so crazy nowadays. I'm really dating myself. And so the tape got thinned out there. But the track is Misery Loves Company. It is such a great... It still stands up. You put it on right now, and it sounds...
Life needs more Cedar Point. More smiles. More surprises. More screams. More days in the sun and nights on the shore. More oohs and ahs and yums. More moments with your family and friends. More memories you get to share again and again. Life needs more Cedar Point. More than ever.
And this year, there's more reason to celebrate than ever at Cedar Point's 150th anniversary through August 15th. Get tickets at cedarpoint.com.
Don't miss the savings during Lowe's Just for Pros event. Stop by the Pro Desk and get an extra 5% off volume savings orders over $1,500. Plus, look for more savings across the store, including tools, paint, lighting, and other pro essentials to help you get the job done right. Shop today at Lowe's, the new home for pros. Discount on eligible product only and reflected in quote. Terms and exclusions apply. See Pro Desk in store for details. Now through July 30th. U.S. only.
Sounds like stuff you hear on the radio today. It is a phenomenal track. I think that is the Lillian Axe song. I don't think there's any question. It's one of those things too. As soon as I hear it, as soon as I hear Stevie hit those opening, bars, I just think to myself, it's like, this is like being 15 again. For a while, I can forget about all the stuff I got to do. I can forget about all the places I got to go and all the people that are pulling on me. And just for a little while, I can kind of reconnect with my tribe and, kind of get some nourishment in many respects. You know what I'm saying? Just kind of let the mind rest a little bit and just kind of enjoy. And there's so many people, when I go to Jackson, I see like the same group of people. And I'll be honest with you, I don't remember many of their names. But it's like every time I go, it's like they're always glad that I came. They're happy to hang out. And then I don't see them again to another show. But it's like they're these friends, this circle of friends that I always see at Jackson shows. And then they just take me in and make me feel so welcome. And I'm so appreciative for that. So we had a lot of that on Sunday. It was a cool thing. Again, at Hallamel, it's a great show. So that's your top 10 Lillian Axe tracks. You may not expect to hear that today. We'll do country on Friday. I had to figure out who we're going to do. We got about 15 artists to pull from. If you have ideas for the top 10 list, reach out, let me know. And if you're not down with the Axe, you're not down with me. Listen to Lillian Axe. Give those guys a shot. And listen, I'm a firm believer in representing those that have kind of been down for me all these years and have been really cool to me. And I don't know that there's anybody that I'm a bigger fan of that has spent some time in Mississippi as a musician than Stevie Blaze from Lillian Axe. He is an absolutely wonderful guy and deserves all the success that he can have. They're working on a new album now, and there's a documentary coming out, and all that stuff's going to be amazing. And, I'm hoping that there's a resurgence and a revival of sorts in Lillian Axe. And you can be a part of that. So go check them out today. Lillian Axe. Next segment of the show brought to you by closewithblair.com. Many of you were thinking, you know what, Steve, I got to go buy a house, or I need to buy a house, or I've always wanted to buy a house. I just don't know how to go about it, or I don't want to deal with that again. It is very much a stressful process. I will admit. It just absolutely drives me crazy every time that I've had to do it. It's just, oh my gosh, it stresses me out to no end, because it's like there's this long, tedious process, and you think you've got everything figured out, and then all of a sudden they give you, we need a note from your mom, and we need you didn't turn in your fourth grade progress report. There's no end to what those underwriters want. And so it's important, I think, to have somebody to help you navigate through that process. There's nobody better than Blair Chandler. Go to closewithblair.com. That's BLAIR, closewithblair.com, and he'll help navigate you through the process. And Blair's not just some fly-by-night guy that's working at some subprime lender, just going to run up a bunch of fees on you. This guy's a mortgage professional with 21 years of experience that works for Fairway Mortgage, one of the top 5 mortgage companies in the country. And you know what? Blair's in the top 1%, right? This is a winner that has been with a winner for a long time, and he knows how to help you win too. Give Blair a call today, 601-500-2344. Again, 601-500-2344. 2, 3, 4, 4. There's no point stressing about the mortgage process when you've got an experienced person at your disposal. And this is a guy too that's a Bulldog, keeps a place here, has season tickets here, and so again, I'm a proponent of doing business with Bulldogs whenever possible. I would choose Blair anyway, not only because he's my friend, but this is a guy. I like to have people that handle things that I don't want to do. And that's kind of what Blair will do for you. You get him your documents, and then he takes care of everything else. And instead of you sitting around stressing and worrying about it, he's kind of your man on the inside. Have you guys seen this deal with Deion Sanders and Nick Suss from the Clarion Ledger? Maybe you've seen the video. It's out there. And it kind of got, to be honest with you, it kind of got packaged in a way that it made it seem a little more dramatic than it was. They made it seem like that Deion Sanders stormed out of SWAC media days because somebody called him by his first name. I didn't know that it was Nick Suss until I saw the video. But basically, the way the SWAC is doing it is, you have a Zoom call set up with different media people, and the coaches just kind of rotate. So basically, he ended the call, early with Nick, and Nick addressed him as Deion. And what's interesting too is that Deion Sanders, and I think that's how we all know him, it's primetime or Deion Sanders. I would probably struggle to call him coach, too, just because it's a different context for me. And that's in no way disrespectful, because I do my best to call every coach. I really do. But it was kind of an awkward interchange there, because Deion says, okay, yeah, let's sit down and talk to Nick. Nick's a good guy. And so then Nick calls him Deion, and he goes, oh, wait a minute now. You wouldn't call Nick Saban Nick, but everybody does call Nick Saban Nick for the most part. And it was just kind of an awkward exchange in many respects that ended with Sanders getting up and walking away. I think there's really kind of fault on both sides. But, once he expressed his discontent with being addressed by his first name, he basically said, hey, you call Nick Saban Coach Saban, you call me Coach, I think he said Coach Prime or whatever. And then Nick Suss doubled down and called him Deion again, so he got up and ended the call. It's almost like you're asking for trouble. And I think it's just one of those things, too. I don't know if people say, oh, this is a publicity stunt. I don't believe that's the case. I don't. What do you gain from it? Oh, well, everybody's talking about it. So what does that do? These people can go buy season tickets? No, that's not going to happen. People are just going to retweet the video and laugh. And so I don't think this is orchestrated by any stretch of the imagination. But it's just one of those awkward moments, too. I think, I guess it's my attitude is this. It's that I do my best to call every coach, just because I think there is a certain level of respect that goes with that. Now, when I'm in a social setting, I never call Dan Mullen coach. For some reason, I always call Tony Hughes coach. And I guess it's not true. But most of the time I call him coach. And maybe it's because he's my elder, But I just thought the whole thing was rather interesting. And I know a lot of people are kind of blaming Nick Suss and saying he was being disrespectful. I don't know that I agree with that. I do know that if somebody had told me that they wanted me to address them a certain way, unless it was just something ridiculous, like somebody said call him emperor or whatever, I would just kind of oblige them. Hey, if he wants to be called coach, I'm going to call him coach. I know the whole thing out there is like, his mama named him Deion, I'm going to call him Deion. Well, in his position, if he has given me the courtesy of an interview and he wants to be addressed a certain way, I'm going to try to do that. Maybe that's just kind of how I'm a little bit different than other people. But I don't agree with how this is being kind of painted up where Nick looks like the villain. But it's just another part of media days. It's like there's always some story, there's always some exchange or something silly that happens, and it's just something else to talk about. It's a silly season part of the year. But, I'm eager to kind of hear what Mike Leach has to say. But there were some things that were kind of shared earlier this week that I thought was rather interesting because much of it wasn't true. And I hate to call people out, but at the same time, I don't mind calling people out when they do stuff that's just kind of silly. And that's what happened. Jordy Culotta is a guy that does radio there in Baton Rouge. And let me call up the tweet here, and we'll just kind of read that together. But Jordy, again, this is a guy. Listen. I'm not taking a personal shot at Jody, but he absolutely did not understand this correctly or transcribe this correctly or whatever, and it caused a bit of a stir, but not in the right way. Not in the right way. And so let me just run this down here. Let's just read this for you guys as well. Just because it was when Ed Orgeron spoke, and there are several tweets here, about Coach Ed Orgeron, and a lot of people don't like him. But here's one of the things too that Ed Orgeron people asked about the lawsuits with Ed Orgeron, about LSU. He goes, "That's something I'm not going to comment on at all, but thanks for asking." And of course, we all know that they can't discuss anything involving litigation. But I thought the whole thing was rather interesting. That it's a no comment as it should be, but the look on Ed's face was not very welcoming, shall we say. He was a little chilly. Thanks for asking, though. Thanks for asking. He didn't mean that. So let me find this Mississippi State comment here, and who knows, man? It may have gone back and deleted it. I don't know, because I kind of called him out a little bit on the deal for sure, just because I think that the whole thing was just kind of silly. Okay, so here's the quote that Jordy attributed to Ed Orgeron. "Being the first SEC road game will stop his offense. We didn't do a good job with it last year. The cowbells and all that noise playing there, it's a great SEC game, but it's a game we're going to win." That is not at all what he said. That's what Jordy tweeted out, but it's not what he said. And this is the kind of thing that, in many respects, it kind of irritates me a little bit. And again, Jordy just happened to be the guy that did it this time. You take these sound bites and try to piece them together, but he didn't say any of these things. The actual quote, and I'll give credit to our good friends over at Go 247, that's GEAUX 247, Sonny Shep, Shay, Bill Embody, the whole crew over there. So here's what he actually said. "We have to stop his offense. We didn't stop it one time," and he kind of laughed as he said it. Obviously, he came in with the air raid for the first time. We had seen it before, obviously, but we didn't do a good job with it. Then we saw people do some good things against us, and I think he meant against it, as in people dropping 8. The more stuff you put on tape, the more we learn how to stop it. Obviously, going to play there, I think Mississippi State does a great job playing there, the cowbells and all that noise. It's our first SEC game. It's a game that we must win to get to where we want to go. He didn't say we're going to win that game. This is the SEC. You've got to be ready every Saturday. But you know what? When you ask me about that, instead of worrying about all that stuff, my focus is going to be getting on camp and his football team and getting them better starting August 6th. And so I say that, again, not to throw any shot at Jordy, even listen, obviously, either he misheard or just misinterpreted. I don't know. But there's going to be a lot of things that come out of the media days because a lot of people are trying to tweet in a hurry and be first and that sort of stuff. And it doesn't matter. It simply does not matter. And I think it's important to kind of understand that, when there's some people out there that are trying to generate clicks, and so they're going to write things that are provocative, and they're going to have headlines that suggest certain things, and none of that matters. None of it matters. Preseason polls don't matter. SEC media predictions for the standing in the West doesn't matter. Not going to change anything. It's just people's opinions. But when we go out here and we falsely attribute quotes to people, it's a different deal entirely. It's completely different. And so I think it's important to kind of address those things. And again, I think Jordy's a good guy. I don't know why he did what he did. Maybe he just misheard it. But it drew a lot of attention, shall we say. But I don't think it's fair to Ed Orgeron either. I mean, they've got enough going on without somebody out here tweeting, something like that to suggest that things are different than they really are. And looking at the responses here, somebody responded, "How do you even have a show?" That's not even similar to what he said. And somebody else says, "Wait until he finds out the drop 8 zone won't work this offense. Once this offense is fully installed." Well, I hope so. Somebody else says, "My man, that's not what he said at all. That's how you get a credential pulled." And somebody else comes through. It's again, it's just people being silly here. people put the actual quotes out there. I saw Reed Garrett kind of copies and pastes it and puts it out there. It's just one of those things that, I don't know. Twitter isn't for everybody. I'm a firm believer in that. There are a lot of times people put things out there that aren't correct. But, when I make those mistakes, I try to remedy them as best I can. But I know some people were expecting some fireworks, from Media Day so far. There haven't really been any. I guess the biggest thing right now is, Bryce Young. Bryce Young's $1 million worth of name, image, and likeness legislation is probably the biggest bombshell of the week so far. And then we'll see what Mike Leach has to say later today. All right, next segment of the show brought to you by CampusBookMart.net. Campus Bookmart, a great place to do business. If you are unfamiliar, you need to familiarize yourself. You need to get in the know, as Campus Bookmart is the place to go buy Mississippi State merch. If you can't make it to town and see the lovely and talented Susie and Stan and Man, Miss Kathy Brown, the whole crew, they're Cheyenne, everybody. You can visit them on the World Wide Web at CampusBookMart.net. And by being a loyal Boneyard listener, we're going to save you some money. We are. We're going to save you shipping on all orders over $50. Promo code BSR, which stands for Beautiful Steve Robertson. And you think that's a joke. It is not. It does stand for Beautiful Steve Robertson. When you put the code in, it's going to pop up and tell you that. And you're going to think of me and smile. Free shipping on all orders over $50. Any order less than $50, absolutely incomplete. Get all the national championship gear you can get. And listen, please be patient too, not just with Campus Bookmart, but everybody. Our Star vendors are doing the best they can. There's a lot of people out there that you've had to reorder and replenish their inventory to fill your orders, and there's been a backlog in that too. It's all going to work out. And I know it gets frustrating because you're so eager to have your stuff. I'm the same way. It's like I go order something from Amazon, and then I'm standing at the end of the driveway by the end of the afternoon, where's my stuff? I get it. And listen, I'm part of this instant gratification generation too. But in this situation with all that's going on, please show a little patience. It'll be good for you, me, and everybody involved. And listen, they want to do a good job for you. They do. So again, Campus Bookmart, the absolute best place to go to get Mississippi State merch. Let's talk a little bit about yesterday's SEC Media Day, a little bit longer. Let me go back to Greg Sankey. There was a couple things that he said that I thought you guys would find of interest. He was asked about the drug policy of the Southeastern Conference. Basically it's set by the schools now. So if you run afoul of the drug policy at Mississippi State, you're gone. There's some other schools that are a lot more lax. And so Sankey was asked about that. Is that, do you think there's a recruiting advantage because there's no uniform drug policy in the league? And so, here's the deal. We have not gone back into conversation about it. Our member universities have felt it appropriate to allow each campus to make its own decisions around drug policy. Our universities have policies that extend even beyond our athletics program. So it's not been a point of conversation. I think maybe it should be. And of course, it'll be up to the league presidents to bring that up. But, if you are a school that perhaps is, a little more lax with that, you don't want all of a sudden the SEC changing your policy. But to be honest with you, I think there should probably be a uniform policy nationally about drugs, period. Maybe I'm in the minority there. And listen, I obviously I used them recreationally years ago, but my point being is that, when you've got student athletes out here that are putting themselves at risk, there needs to be some type of programs in place to ensure that they get the help that they need if there's a problem. And so, there are a lot of people out there that say, hey, you know what, no harm, no foul, as long as they can protect themselves. I believe in personal freedom. I do too, to a certain extent, but I also know the damage that can be done if this is not monitored. And so that's my personal feelings about it. You may disagree. We've talked a lot about name, image, and likeness at the beginning of the show, but one of the things that that he was asked about is with all the changes in college athletics, with the national, the name, image, and likeness legislation, player transfer, whatever, college commissioners say 5 years ago, particularly Power 5 conference, and splitting off in their own country, so to speak. This is about defecting from the Power 5 from the NCAA. Which is a question that I guess Sankey will probably get every year until he retires. And he says, I don't know where. Well, I guess I was commissioner 5 years ago. It's been a long time. You try to give me a day off and then throw that one on me on social media. That's not our focus. I went through a list of observations that aren't just NCAA related. They are college athletics related. That's actually us. And some ideas, in fact, ideas that I've had actually don't resolve issues. They just linger. So are we closer? Not in my imagination. I do think we all have to be mindful of the reality in front of us. And I noted when President Emmerich spoke about the need for change and reimagining the national office role, the conference role, and the campus role, that doesn't speak to your question, but it does speak to what we're going to have to administer this differently. So basically, what you hear from that is that no, at this point, the Power Five is not looking to break off from the NCAA. That's how I interpret that to be. You may see it a little bit differently, but that's not how I see it. And those are a couple big things that I think that a lot of people have probably been thinking about. Because every time there's an issue that pops up with NCAA, there are people that say, oh, well, this is it. This is the death knell for them. I want to go back, to some comments that Dan Mullen made. I thought it was pretty cool. Dan comes out. Dan spent a lot of time here. He got a lot of friends here still. I say friends, probably just more so acquaintances. But, in his opening statement, he made a comment just about Mississippi State, and he says, he talks about Tempe Lightning winning the Stanley Cup and the energy in the stadium. You realize how much you missed that. Even getting to watch the College World Series in Omaha, seeing basically the entire state of Mississippi move to Omaha to cheer on Mississippi State and have them win the NAFL championship for the Southeastern Conference and for Mississippi State and people of Mississippi. Winning that NAFL championship was amazing. And so thanks, Dan. It's very nice of you to do. I mean, and it doesn't add to or diminish the situation in any way whatsoever, but I thought it was a pretty cool comment. Thought it's the least he could do, get up there and say a few things nice about us. So let's skip into yesterday a little bit too. I know a lot of you guys were expecting, Lane Kiffin to get up and perhaps say some things that were inflammatory. I didn't see any of that. Some of the guys that cover Ole Miss tell me that he's really kind of introverted. He acts and looks a certain way, like on social media, but he's just not really like that. In person. I don't know if perhaps, he's just grown and matured a little bit or whatever, but, I just didn't hear or see anything, about Mississippi State yesterday that would make, that would cause any headlines. And, people were waiting for it. You know what I'm saying? There's some people out there that I'm sure were saying, hey, he'll say so, he'll drop some zinger about Leach or something. And you just didn't get that. You just didn't get it. So, I don't know, maybe if we're just seeing, a more mature Lane Kiffin or not, or maybe he's just confident because he feels like he has a good team coming back. Offensively, they should be still very good. One thing he did kind of belabor the point, too, was about Bryce Young. He was asked about Jerry and Ely's shoulder surgery. You remember he did miss some time, wasn't able to play baseball. And so the guy asked the question, says, what's his status? And Lane says, I'm still blown away on this Bryce Young. The guy's made $1 million already. That's good, man. We don't need to play next year against us then. I mean, that's mind-blowing. Then he comes back and answers a question and said, hey, he's fine. We're working with the team, whatever. I think that kind of stuff's interesting, because it's like, again, you hear that number. $1 million for a college athlete. And, none of us will ever see that number. Very few of us will ever see that number. And you think this is a guy that's never started a game. It's going to be raking in that kind of coin. I do think it's interesting, too, that somebody made a comment about him losing some weight, which is difficult to do in Mississippi, I might add. Everything is fried with gravy on it. And I made a comment, strange question to ask a guy, but whatever. You're being negative about Mississippi food. I'm being positive. It's a Mississippi diet. I can't in Mississippi embrace the food, just not a lot of it. Have some portion control. So that's not really what the diet was. I'm going to be positive about food in Mississippi. So, again, thanks, Lane. Appreciate you and Dan for some kind comments about our state. It's one of those things, too, that, when everybody has their day up there, you never know what's coming question-wise. It's just kind of silly. There's a lot of people at SEC Media Days, quite frankly, don't need to be there. And they want to keep it open and credential a bunch of people. But, I've heard some very outlandish questions over the years, and maybe that's why people ask them. Maybe people ask those questions just to try to get, a response, try to go viral or whatever. But, again, I haven't heard anything outside of, the whole situation with the fake Orgeron quote that has really raised any eyebrows. Maybe that changes today, when Mike Leach is up there, because, again, there are going to be people that are going to be looking to, to trap Mike, and Mike's a smart guy. He usually doesn't fall for it, but if it's something he's passionate about, he's happy to talk about it. So we'll kind of watch that unfold here in the days to come. and just kind of see what happens in the next couple of hours. And I'm eager to see what he's got to say. He takes the stand at 2:30. Many of you will have already probably seen what he's had to say by the time the show is on your phone. But again, it's just kind of been boring so far, and I kind of like it that way. I don't need people to get up there and say things that are inflammatory about Mississippi State. Just about everything that anybody has said has been pretty benign at this point. But again, we'll see what happens today. There hasn't been much drama at media days, and I think people are just really kind of grateful to have it, since we didn't even do it virtually last year. And I used to wonder why we didn't do that, but I think maybe in hindsight it was the best decision. There was just so many unknowns at the time. We just didn't know what was going on. And so I think Greg Sankey made the right decision. We didn't have media days, and it'd be different if we had just done the local media stuff. But, I think with all the protocols that have been put in place and the vaccination situation, it was still kind of unfolding, it's probably best just to protect the student athletes and the coaches in many respects from those questions, just because people get tied into those quotes and it's going to come back up later. And listen, that we didn't even know we were going to have a season. We were hopeful. Greg Sankey, and I had a chance to visit with Commissioner Sankey out in Omaha, and I told him, I said, listen, I just want to say thanks for saving college football last year. I said, I know all you ever hear are the complaints, and he kind of laughed, and he goes, yeah, you never get the compliments. And I think that's a shame too. But, Greg Sankey's leadership was probably never more important than it was last year. There were so many people, and I remember people in our industry were all doom and gloom. This is it. Big Ten, Pac-12 are going to cancel football. And Greg Sankey and the ACC said, you know what? No, we're not going to do that. And then they got with the Big 12, and I said, yeah, we're going to play. And then what happens? Eventually, just about everybody comes back around to play. And a lot of it, again, boils down to Greg Sankey. Greg Sankey being a great leader. So I think it's important, too, that we kind of recognize those things. There's so many times that come up and things don't go our way, and it's so easy to complain and gripe and kind of be, unpacified babies about the thing. But, when something does go right, I think it's appropriate to say, you know what, Greg Sankey did a great job, and I think history will be very kind to Greg Sankey when we look back at this period of time and said, you know what, despite the fact that our nation was going through, our planet was going through something relatively unprecedented in our lifetimes, that we still had the enjoyment of college football. We were able to crown a national champion. And I think Greg Sankey deserves a lot of credit for that. All right, listen, Portico, a lot of those people that are moving to Starkville are unsure where to go. And say, Steve, I just want to be close to campus. That's easy to do. Absolutely easy to do, because our friends at Portico, they can get you taken care of. Very easy to get to, but also, too, not necessarily out there, on the major thoroughfares where you're going to have to kind of worry and wonder, about your dog wandering off a little bit, But we're 1.1 mile from campus. When you turn off of 82 onto 12, the very first right is Pat Station Road. You cross over Old West Point Road, which is basically maybe a quarter mile right there. Portico is right there. You go check it out today. Go and tour the place, see what you think. Hire a real estate agent. But here's the deal. If you want a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 4-bedroom, 4-bath, whether it be an investment property, whether it be an Airbnb for you, whether it be your primary residence, or maybe just your second home, coming your home away from home, they've got options for you. Call Brooks Bryan today. Down to just 1 to 2 houses left in Phase 1. Phase 2 construction getting underway. It's a great place. You can run the campus. If you're a physically fit person and you want to get out and go run, you can go run the campus and go run around the Chapel of Memories if you want to. You can get all that stuff done. Call Brooks today at 601-416-8075. Again, at 601-416-8075. Great people. And I've said before, guys, if I was moving to Starkville now, that's where I would go. I'd want to be close to campus. I'd want to be close to that side of town. I'd want to be close to 82, so I can kind of get in on it again when it's time to go and hit the road to go cover the Bulldogs. I got easy access to 82 right there, which is great. And then, I jump out there on the bypass. I'm on 25. So I can get where I need to get without necessarily having to navigate through town or navigate 12 when things are really busy. I think that is an incredible feature and benefit for you by being a homeowner there at Portico. Go check it out again. Call Brooks Bryan to get all that information. So men's basketball has released their non-conference schedule. You may have seen it. So it's a non-conference schedule. We're gonna have a couple of these games are gonna be decent too for sure. And so we open up November 10th. That'll be here before you know it. Just over 100 days, right? North Alabama will come in here. The Lions will come visit us. And then that Saturday, we got Montana coming in. The Grizzlies, I guess. That's right. Then Detroit Mercer, you're on your own with that nickname. They come in Wednesday the 17th. Morehead State, Sunday, November 21st. And then we're going to hit the road. We're in one of these preseason tournaments. They have not made the formal announcement yet of who we're going to play. It'll be one of those deals where we're guaranteed 2 games and we'll play. So there will probably be an upgrade in competition, perhaps some RPI opportunities there, or the net. That's what they're calling it now, the net. It's all the same stuff. So don't know the details on that, but that's going to be November 25th and 27th. So we'll play a Thursday, Saturday deal down there. We tend to get invited to one of those things every year. We're back in December opening up against Lamar, December 2nd. Minnesota, the Golden Gophers, coming in here on December 5th. And then we skip to the 14th of December, and that's Georgia State will come in. I guess that'll be the week after finals. And then we have Furman come in on the 17th, and then Tuesday Winthrop will come in. And then we're going to play Texas Tech at Texas Tech. That's going to be the Big 12 SEC Challenge. Also of note, too, that Tuesday, December 21st, that's the Christmas week game. That's going to be in the Mississippi Coliseum in Jackson. So we're back down there again. So that's kind of how things go leading into SEC play. So, again, you look at the schedule and you begin to think, okay, this is not a overloaded schedule, but there could be some opportunities depending on how this holiday tournament works out, that Thanksgiving weekend tournament for us. And then, I don't know how good Minnesota's going to be, but it's a Power 5 opponent. Texas Tech is as well. We're going to be on the road playing them. And listen, we've got a chance to be really good this year. Last year we knew it was going to be a developmental year, and we probably exceeded expectations. I think if we're all being honest with ourselves, listen, we can say, you know what, Ben's kind of underachieved, and he has. But last year might have been the best coaching job he's done here. And now all of a sudden you begin to look at these transfers. You got guys coming in. You begin to think, okay, we got a chance to kind of get some cool things going here. And you look at who all's kind of transferred in. You know what you've got with Iverson Molinar and Tolu Smith coming back. Abdul Adu is gone. DJ is gone. And I hate that DJ is gone. I really do. I think if DJ's back, I think we could have been even better. But you bring in Garrison Brooks, stud. DJ Jeffries from Memphis, stud. Rocket Watts, Michigan State, stud. Shaquille Moore from NC State, think a lot of him. And so you begin to think about how this class kind of come together. But, we got Rocket Watts is a guy that is going to be fine. He had to have a surgical procedure here a few weeks back. But I'm excited about men's hoops. And to be honest with you, the last couple of years, I haven't been excited about men's hoops. I miss the Charles Rhodes, Jamont Gordon days. I miss that. I know you guys do as well. I think we can take a step kind of towards that this year in many respects. And everybody says, well, we'll see what kind of coach Ben is now that he's run out of MSU legacies. And that's true. But I think this year he's really answered the bell. And, I know Garrison Brooks is a Bulldog legacy, but those other guys aren't. We went out and got some really talented players to come in, and I think it's something to be excited about. I think everybody can look at this Mississippi State roster right now and say, you know what? We got a chance to go out there and win some games. We got a chance to get back to the tournament. I'm eager to see how things go in practice this year. And, Ben is really good about letting us go to practice, when it's allowable. And so maybe we get to go this year. Of course, last year was a lot of regulations and all, but it would be nice to be able to go see these guys perform, prior to we get into the season. And, I like the makeup of this team. And I think when you look at the juice that we had down the stretch, we were a difficult team to play down the stretch. We were inconsistent much of the SEC schedule. But down the stretch, we kind of got things going, won some games that I think people were expecting us to lose. And then we go to the finals of the NIT. And we just run into a more talented team. We run into a team that should have been in the NCAA tournament. But that's good for us. Kind of shows us where we have to develop. And so we'll see how things progress, but I feel really good about the direction of the team right now. And listen, we all know that Ben needs a big year, but I think the pieces are there for us to have a big year. And so I'm optimistic, and I hope that you are as well, and I hope that you'll consider coming out and supporting the men. That's our attendance the last few years has not been great, but it would be really nice if we could turn out and have a big crowd some of these ball games this year, because I think you're going to see a more exciting brand of basketball. I really do. I think the talent level is going to really take a step forward this year. I want to thank you guys, too, for all your support of the books. I signed, I guess, a dozen or so books for personalization yesterday, and then signed a couple more cases to fill signed, copied orders for you guys. You can go to alphadogsthebook.com. That's alphadogs, DAWGS, thebook.com. And you can order personalized copies of Flim Flam, Stark Villains, and Alpha Dogs. If you're looking for the newest one, Blooms of Oleander came out on June 7th. It has been on the Mississippi bestsellers list ever since. Thank you all very much. I encourage you to buy those from Mississippi's independent bookstores or your own local bookstore. They can order it through Ingram. Just Blooms of Oleander, Steve Robertson, they can get it for you. If you want personalization, you're going to either come to a signing or order through Book Martin Cafe. That's downtown in Starkville. If you don't care about signing or personalization, just order through Amazon, Books of Megan, or BarnesandNoble.com. You can go do that today. They'll get it right out to you. They've got available stock. There's people that handle all that stuff. I just write the books and smile and sign them. I don't handle that aspect of the business. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the new book, but I want to share with you guys, too, where I'm going to be here the next couple of weeks. This Friday evening, from 5:30 to 8, I'll be signing books downtown at Book Martin Cafe. They have the annual Summer Unwind event. It is a Friday night, and everybody comes, and they go from place to place, and they get their little wine glass and get a sip of wine as they go, and they frequent our downtown vendors. If you would like to be a part of that, come on down. We're happy to have you. On Saturday, August the 7th, I will be at Lemuria Books in Jackson from 2 to 3-ish. I'll be there to at least 3. If you guys are still around, I'll stay a little bit longer. So Lemuria Books, August 7th, and then Book Martin Cafe this Friday night. So as I told you guys, I'm not going to tour a whole lot this summer because I've got to finish writing Dogpile. But it's going to be a very, very busy fall for me. Obviously, we're going to do a lot of book signings. And so we're going to do game day signings every weekend. The Mississippi State is at home. Now, the new book, Dogpile, won't be out the first couple months. The hope is to have that out and ready to roll for you guys, mid-November or so. We'll definitely have it out in time for the Christmas rush. But so football signings, you're going to get more of the same. Come out and say hello, buy the book, and there's so many people right now that are just so excited to get their hands on anything Mississippi State related that we're all kind of benefiting from that. So I know that Campus Book Mart and Book Martin Cafe have sold several of my books, as well as some other bookstores around the state. I've had some people contact me, even the folks at Turn Row said, hey, we gotta get stocked up again on these books, which is always great. It means you guys are enjoying them. So much fun, to say the least. But Dogpile, I guess I'm 5 chapters in right now. By the end of the week, I'll probably have maybe a third of the book roughed out, and then it'll go to the editorial process. And so, I'm not giving myself a lot of breaks. I've taken a little bit of a break. I wrote 4 chapters last week, and then, went to the rock show and kind of gave my chance a day to kind of recover from that. And so the rest of this week, it's what it's going to be. Nose of the grindstone, kind of pumping out these chapters, and I'll be up late. I will do my best Thursday night to go ahead and record Friday's show for you guys. I know many of you like to listen to this on your morning drive, and I do apologize for that. But when we're not in season, I just don't feel maybe that same sense of urgency. But I'll do my best to try to do these at night so you guys can have them the full length of your day. And I do apologize for that because I'd planned on doing it last night, but I'm just not as young as I used to be. So when I go to these shows and I get home late, it takes me a day or two to recover, especially when I got to get up and do radio and things like that. So it's a fun life, but sometimes I don't get enough rest. And so last night I just felt like I wanted to just kind of watch a little TV, and I just felt myself kind of drifting away. I've been watching Manifest. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. I'm in I'm episode 5 now of Manifest, season 2 of Manifest. It's on Netflix. It is a absolutely wild adventure. It's about a plane that basically disappears for 5.5 years. and then all of a sudden they go into land, and then life has kind of moved on without them. And so I won't give it away, but it is remarkable. The writing's very good, and listen, it's a little silly at times. I mean, the premise of it, the movie itself, is kind of silly, but you know what I'm saying. There's just a lot that goes into this, but it's very entertaining. And I know many of you are always looking for something new to watch, so let me recommend Manifest. Check it out. I think you'll be glad you did. So that's kind of where that stands. And then, genespage.com, this is a great time for us as we kind of get ready to go into big dog camp, and next thing you know, it'll be fall camp. And I'm eager to start writing football content again, too, as much as I love baseball. I had a fun time yesterday. Interviewed, about Holly, about Grant Jackson, who is from Beulah Hubbard High School, won a state championship, and father of a couple of daughters that love Mississippi State. So I was able to write that story yesterday. It's a free story on Gene's page. You may have seen it on your Facebook feed. It's called Daddy's Girls, and it's basically about, this is a guy who was a state championship pitcher and had a chance to go play college baseball, elected to stay home and work, and got married and had a couple of girls and coached them in softball and taught them to love Mississippi State. And he passed away earlier this year. And to honor his memory, his daughters went to Omaha together for the first time. And honored his memory by going to support the Bulldogs at the College World Series. And so it's a great story. These are the kind of stories I love to write. I'd rather write that stuff than just about anything, to be honest with you, just because I enjoy people sharing themselves. It's like there's so much stuff in life that, we just kind of live in the accidental phase of life. We just kind of go through, and there's just so much fake civility, and sometimes people don't even talk about who they really are. But Holly had reached out to me on Twitter because she had read my story, Our Guys, that I'd written about, how much I was looking forward to going to Omaha, and, about Mississippi State players being such a big part of my life. And my dad had passed that down to me, and I'd pass it down to my children. So the story was called Our Guys, and somehow she had run across the story and just, wanted to kind of let me know that she was part of the tribe. And so she tweeted me that picture of her and her sister holding up her dad's picture. And I just felt so moved by that, and so I reached out and said, hey, let's write a story, and they were more than happy to oblige. And I think those are the things the Mississippi State family needs to read. There's so much out there, and there's so many people that have such hot takes, and guys, anybody can make a list. Like, I read this stuff, and it's like, this guy, what's this big boomer sooner or whatever, who cares? Do you really think he knows anything? He's been around and talked to anybody? Oh, this is the best college experience here, and this is the best restaurant. Do you think he's been out and done that stuff? Of course not. But anybody can get a Twitter account, make a list, and tweet out a graphic, and the people that like it are going to retweet it and say, hey, look at this. And the people that hate it are going to retweet it and say, can you believe this moron? And next thing you know, the guy's developed a bit of a following. And so a list doesn't mean anything. There's no skill in making a list. People love a dadgum list, though. But nobody knows what they're talking about when they make these lists. Just some random Twitter account. And then I even see some of these universities are saying, that they're giving this guy some credibility. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But let's go write a list. Let's go write an aggregate story about a dadgum list. I'd rather write about, a couple of girls going, a couple of ladies, mothers going to honor their dad's memory in Omaha, and then we just happen to win a national championship, on her son's birthday. Those things are more meaningful to me. Or I could just go make a list that everybody's going to forget about 6 weeks from now. Let's write about things that are meaningful. Let's write about things that matter. Let's write about people. Let's write about our hearts. Let's write about our teams. Instead of some dadgum list. I've been listed to death. Maybe you feel differently to me. I can't stand all these dadgum lists from people that don't have any credibility. Let's just go make a list and see if we can't get some Twitter followers. Oh, well, what does that get you? Well, it gets me some Twitter followers. Congratulations, I guess. It's just not important. We're going to be talking football a lot here, and the only list that matters, is the win and loss column, right? All these people are saying, oh, State's probably going to be 5-7, 6-6. I think that they tend to skew a little more pessimistic anyway. I've said before, I think our ceiling is 8-4. Our floor is probably 6-6. Over/under is probably 7-5. I'll stick with that. I think we're going to be a better football team this year. I think we're going to be a lot better next year. I think there's some teams that are going to struggle to defend us. I really do. Last year we kind of couldn't get out of our own way. And I think you're going to see a lot more proficiency on offense this year. And you know what you're going to expect on defense. I know everybody says, well, we've seen them on tape. And listen, you can say what you want. You can see it on tape. But until you get out there on the field and you never know where the mad scientist is bringing the fire from, you just don't know. I'm excited for football. I really am. I feel good about basketball, and I'm really excited for baseball. Some great transfers coming in, a great signing class coming in. And you look at what softball's done here, too. You picked up a couple big transfers as well. So I think we're in line here for a really great academic year of sports. I think we're going to have a great school year 2021, 2022 in athletics. And I think we're going to be competitive on all fields of play. Let's get out of here. And, again, I apologize for being later than normal. I'll do my best. I'll try to get some rest tonight. That way I can stay up late for you guys, Thursday night. But until next time, let's all live our lives in a way we'll make more friends than enemies, and people can see a difference in the way we live.
Your car doesn't get much of a summer break. Bugs, UV rays, and pollen can all cause damage. Stay protected at WetGo with Weather Shield and a free month of unlimited washes. Just purchase your first month of WetGo Go Unlimited, and your second month is free. Wash as many times as you want. And when you choose our all-weather or showroom pass featuring Weather Shield, you'll say bye-bye to bugs all summer long. Sign up today at getgocafe.com/unlimited.
If you've been a renter, you know it's stressful to find the perfect place. But Zillow Rentals make it easy. They have filters for pretty much everything, so you can find a rental that's big enough for entertaining your friends, but small enough they won't crash all weekend. Find your sweet spot on ZillowRentals.com.